Yeah, all right, we're back. All right, we're good. I'm full.
All right.
I'm full from chicken wings.
Yeah, chicken wings that only you got and none of the rest of us got.
Yes.
Eagle, what do you think about that?
I was very upset. I love chicken wings, and I hate Moe for having eaten them on my behalf.
Well, when you're the star of the show, the face that runs this place, the franchise, the savior of the masses,
the chicken wing destroyer.
Hey, the fans come out and give me free food. Thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, actually. We got to thank them for having done that. Did they go specifically to get wings for us, or did they just happen to be on a road trip and they're like, hey, let's get them for the FPF boys?
We have to thank them. Did they get wings for us? We were not included in this.
I got wings for us. I ate them for us. It was a team effort, guys.
Were they boneless?
No, they had bones. I ate them for the team. I took one for the team, guys.
Well, the number of times you stand corrected on this program, it always ceases to amaze me.
It doesn't matter. I took one for the team. I ate for us, guys. How about that? We ate them in Moe Khan's stomach. All right.
What are we doing here tonight, Moe?
Welcome to another edition of Calling the Audible. It is week 7. Week 6 complete. Week 7. 4 more weeks to go, including week 7. Halawak to my left. Eagle to my right. A lot to get to, a surprise to look forward to, which we will unveil from the website for those who are now intrigued to find out where they are in the playoff standings, and a lot of games to get to, and we'll talk about our power rankings again. Yes.
So you just hinted it. You said intrigued to find out where they stand in the playoff rankings.
And then we'll talk about our power rankings.
I'll talk about it later.
All right, let's dive into Div D-1. Let's go into it and what we saw from this past week. Shall I start or shall you start?
I'll start if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will defer to you.
So one game I think that was very exciting, had a lot of playoff implication, was the TOPSZN versus the Go-Getters in Division D-1. Super tight game, went down to the wire, ended 33-32 for TOPSZN. Tale of two halves in this game, 25-13 in the first half for TOPSZN, and then the second half, it just turned around 8-9, so 19-8 for Go-Getters to come back. Came down to the final drive. Essentially, TOPSZN scored with 4 plays remaining, went for 2, big balls going for 2, converted, went up by 1 point, left 4 plays on the board for Dylan Daoust and company. Took a couple of stabs downfield, didn't work, and on the final Hail Mary jump ball to Jeremy Anderson, it was undercut by Andel Thomas Gordon and sealed the victory. So big win for TOPSZN here. Do you have any input on this game? What do you think about the impact of this victory for TOPSZN, who you've dissed all season?
Oh, that nice little rhyme over there. Took some time with that one there. All right, let's talk about TOPSZN. All right, big win for them. Khalil Kerr, much better than before. We have our Khalil Kerr question a bit later on here. But look, it's a marked improvement from where they were less than a month ago, where Khalil Kerr was producing test scores that resemble P.Z. Delarizzi's high school career of less than 40% completion rates.
And Chapman also, for that
Chapman
matter.
too.
They cheated off each other.
The only person worse is Moe Khan himself.
Oh, no, I don't do that. But
he didn't do tests.
But look, look, we know it's a quarterback-driven league, and for Khalil Kerr to do what he did, the numbers are probably the best he'll ever produce in his life as a quarterback at that level. But let's not forget, though, 4 different guys caught a touchdown pass or more, with Hassani Worrell, who's having an under-the-radar season with 2 for 46 and 2 touchdown grabs. I think for Dylan Daoust, the frustrations will continue. He's had some great moments. I thought he would excel in the second half here. I know they've been back now for more than 2 weeks, the guys who went to Mexico City or whatever, Mexico, for the little fun in the sun. But I think this is disappointing for Go-Getters. Well, they're the better team. They lost to an inferior team like TOPSZN.
I have it on good word of authority that Go-Getters are going to go undefeated the rest of the season from here on out. So
perhaps they will.
They had a lot of positives that they enjoyed in this game. Look at Jordan Moses, 7 catches, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the go-to target. Jeremy Anderson, 4 catches, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. So Dylan Daoust is starting to get his key playmakers involved regularly, starting to get a feel for them down the field especially. Now, turning point in this game was certainly a guy by the name of Matthew Canuel. I'm sorry, Matthew Canuel.
Yes.
Definitely made an impact. One of the low-key forerunners for Defensive Player of the Year. Actually, having a very stellar season overall. He had 2 interceptions on the day. The first one on the first drive, jumped a slant route intended for Jordan Moses, and the second one at the end of the first half, he picked off another post route for Jordan Moses in one of the final plays of the half. So he had a big impact on this game as well. But I think the storyline goes that, as you said, these are 2 quarterbacks that are both emerging, that are both developing throughout the season, and we're seeing progression from them each week now, and that's positive on both sides.
Well, KGP RA winning 19-13 over Bruh-Mitsvah. My boy, DG10.
Of course, you bring up KGP
a near perfect 19 for 23 for 148, 3 TDs, 1 INT. Phil the Thrill Cutler with 10 catches for 83 yards. He was the go-to guy. He was the underneath guy. This was a sloppy game. I think if you ask both Bruh-Mitsvah and KGP RA, they didn't have their best game on display. Maybe it was the humidity outside that carried over into the dome. I don't know. But I think for David Daou, another flustering game for him. He actually even reached out to me, probably asking, hey, what do you think? What am I doing wrong? And I told David, I go, your red zone offense is anemic, like what Eagle eats for lunch, which is crackers and cheese. You got to be a lot more meat and potatoes out there. Yes, Eagle.
I love crackers and cheese.
I know you do.
Throw in some celeries and a couple of carrot sticks, and you have a full-on Eagle lunch.
My mom used to do celery sticks. You put a little cheese whiz, and then you put a little bit of raisins on top. It's called ants on a log.
Only
ants on a log.
Only white people eat cheese whiz, man. Who eats cheese whiz?
That's not even like European white.
No,
that's
it's like real white. Anyway, so David Daou,
manja cake.
15-32, but Dylan Garber, another strong performance for him. This is a situation where I thought their defense played very well. They really limited Bruh-Mitsvah and any of the big ball plays that they like to go deep with. I thought David Daou, looked a little bit uncomfortable throughout the 2 halves. And even from the perspective of KGP RA, even though this game was close, they had it in control. It wasn't like they were going to lose this game at one point or another. They were confident from the first half until the last play of that football game. It's a big win for them, and now it sets up for the big showdown, which they will have with SOB next weekend, or this Sunday, that is.
So, Mo, looking at the stats here, and your boy, Dylan Garber...
excuse me, call him by the proper name, please.
DG10.
Yes.
Looking a little porous the last couple of weeks.
What's the record, please? Scroll up and look at the record.
They've won all 3 games.
Who's in first place?
But I'm looking at this here. In the past 3 weeks, he has 10 touchdowns to 5 INTs.
Who is in first place?
The KGP is, of course. They've been winning games.
Did Tom Brady throw those? Like, Tom Brady has not thrown Peyton Manning numbers, and yet he won the Lombardi, right?
I don't think Tom Brady's ever thrown... Well, no. Someone's going to correct me wrong. But 5 interceptions in 3-week span.
I'm just saying, Tom Brady's had those weeks, right? So DG10 can have those weeks now. Better now than later, right?
It's a little bit of a rough patch, I think, that they're going through. And I think that's good in the progression of a championship caliber team. Just a dismal season for Bro. Entirely. I mean, they can't seem to find their footing in any capacity. Finally got Zach Goldstein going in this one. Had 3 catches, 41 yards.
Last 2 games have been effective.
Had 2 INTs on defense. Yeah. So that's a positive, but it might be a little bit too late at this point for them. Yeah. KGP seems to be steamrolling though at this point.
By the way, Tom Brady had a defense that basically won those Lombardis, and over here we only have, I think I counted 9 interceptions in 6 games.
Okay, relax. Okay, go back to playing your Pokemon Go crap out.
There's an update today. It's awesome.
Yes, I know. You were outside talking to your buddy about it.
We struck a nerve here. We struck a nerve with Mocon.
Anyway, haters out there. SOB against Badgers, a big win for Badgers, 29-26. On paper, we spoke about this briefly here in terms of the point spread. I picked the Badgers to win this game. Another not debilitating loss for the SOB, but I just thought that watching this game from where I was back and forth, we go back to the same punchline. Max Marini was okay. He wasn't great.
It's Tim Tebow-ish.
He's Tim Tebow-esque out there.
I think that's the key point as well. Sorry to cut you off, Mo, but I think that's the last 2 weeks we've seen a sudden regression in Max Marini's play. Last week, remember we discussed it. Yeah. He was below 500 completion percentage.
But you hailed his exploits. Almost 200 yards.
Still found the 5 touchdowns and almost 200 yards passing. Yes. But the low percentage completion kind of alluded to what happened this week, which was just an overall poor game. 3 TDs to 2 INTs does not make championship caliber quarterback or team. And they actually lost the game because of it, and that's 2 losses in a row now.
Two bad losses in a row, I think, because that puts them down a deep hole for first place in their division with KGP RA. But not only that, though, that might put them at a lower rank in the divisional playoffs or the conference playoffs, which we'll get to very shortly here. But I just think for the Badgers, a big win. Josh Fetter looking much better at quarterback. He looked more poised out there. I know his stats aren't as great as Marini was in terms of the completion attempts ratio here, but he looked much better out there. Sammy Fetter out there helping him catch footballs. But I think overall, they just made the bigger plays when it mattered most in the second half.
The Badgers were whole in this game. They were complete, and it's something that hasn't happened for them often this year. Finally, they have Josh Feeder at quarterback. They have Sammy Feeder where he's supposed to be at receiver. They have Joseph Cano at the snap where he's meant to be. AJ Rashkevan's been having a very strong season. He's been the one player that's been producing week in and week out from the rush, and also at a receiver position, which he doesn't do all the time as much in the higher divisions, but here he really shines as the go-to. Big win for Badgers. I think this is really telling of the identity that this team had at the outset of the season, at least what they envisioned for themselves, and now they're starting to formulate that. So.
All right, let's dive into the topics du jour here, Mr. Hollowak. Let's talk about, now we're through 6 games, and we have an idea of who the favorites are going to be moving into the last quarter of the season. In terms of what you believe right now for the division races, do you believe in your mind that we have an idea, or we painted a picture of who we believe will win the divisions right now? Diablos have a 3-point lead. Get Off My D have a 3-point lead from second place. KGP RA has a comfortable 4-point lead on TOPSZN, and Kiwi Island pretty much in the driver's seat up by 6. The question I have for you, though, are we pretty much set in stone on the 4 first-place teams that will remain in this position when we hit Week 10 at the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. I disagree with you in that assessment. I don't think that's your assessment, but I'm saying in that remark. I think Diablos are the ones who are most vulnerable at this point. They're sitting on a 4-1-1 record with 9 points, which is 3 points ahead of the next 2 teams in their conference, the Les Vierges Ariennes and the Frosty Bronsons. However, look at this. The next 2 games, Diablos are playing against Kiwi Island and Get Off My D, 2 of the premier teams in this division. Should they lose those 2 games, and either Frosty Bronsons or Vierges Ariennes win those 2 games, they will actually jump them for first place in this division. So they could lose their seeding within the next 2 weeks.
Well, they have a game and a half lead on second and third place in their division, so they have a little bit of a cushion to work with 4 games to go.
The difficult next 2 games.
Well, that's it, right? But it's the 2 best teams on the other side of the bracket, in theory, or the 2 best teams in top of the division right now, with Kiwi Island probably being the best on the other side of the bracket. If they come away, if they split, I think they'll take that. If they come away 2-0, I think they'll be through the roof in cloud 9 and think to themselves they might be the best team in Division D1.
If they come out with 2-0, we might hail them as the best team in Division D1.
You might even call them, hey, they're better than KGP RA.
I might jump on their bandwagon.
Yeah, might as well.
However, a split works very well for them. I'm talking about scenarios here. I'm talking about vulnerabilities, and I'm saying they're now in a position where if they lose those 2 games, which is very realistic against those formidable opponents, there is a chance for one of these other 2 teams to sneak in here and make a run late in the season.
Okay, we talk about Diablos up by 3, but what about Get Off My D? They right now are in control of the division. They are 3 up on Supply and Command, who had a tough loss on the weekend, a 1-point loss for them. But we look at it this way: with 4 to go, you're up by 3. Could we see the scenario of maybe one more win for Get Off My D being more than enough to win this division?
I think so. It's the type of scenario where here's what has to go down. The second place team has to win out, and Get Off My D has to lose 2 of the remaining 4 games in order
minimum.
Minimum, exactly. Minimum.
Yeah.
So they have to lose 2 of the next 4 games. So if you look at Get Off My D's schedule ahead, they have Dreamville, which should be a win considering how they've played out so far.
But they'll play them tough, though. They will play them tough.
They have Diablos, which is going to be a very interesting game. They have Fun Boys, which is going to be a very interesting game. And then they have Frosty Bronsons, which they should win if Get Off My D should win if they continue playing the way they have been. So the 2 games we're looking at here is week 8 and 9 versus Diablos and Fun Boys. All they have to do is win one of those games, and they lock down the division, essentially. There's no coming back from that. But should they drop both of them, they'll leave a little bit of lee room for Supply and Command. And let's see Supply and Command schedule here. They have games against Badgers, Zoo, Frosty Bronsons, and Straight Out of Breath, all winnable games, surprisingly. So it could be some interesting developments.
So. KGP RA, they have a 4-point lead. With 4-point lead and 4 to go here. perhaps it's top season that will provide them the threat for first place. Straight SOB still has an outside chance, but if they lose on this weekend's game, they can kiss first place goodbye here. And for top seasons, they will play SOB and Bronson's. They have a tough schedule to end off the year.
Yeah,
but for KGP RA right now,
they have a tough schedule as well, Mo. I just take a look here. You have Straight Out of Breath, who yes, they've been slumping the last 2 weeks, but prior to that, it was an undefeated team, and this might be their week to break out of their slump.
You have a
hot ICU team. Chris Olsen is actually, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the division the last 3 weeks in terms of his play. Then you have Kiwi Island, who may be very well the best team in the division, and then you have Les Vergeriens, who are tough out on every given week.
Yeah.
So considering your boy DG10 has been slumping a bit the last 3 weeks, going into this vice grip of teams ahead,
he's winning, bro.
This might be difficult. I don't know. I think
he's winning, bro.
I still think KGP RA is going to be clear though, because their team is too good. They're going to be able to pull their quarterback out of the depths when he needs it, and they're going to win a couple of these games here. But it might get interesting. You never know.
As Richard Sherman once told Tom Brady, "You mad, bro?" I think you're mad.
I think Richard Sherman is mad at his quarterback.
Who won that game, by the way?
That's Seattle when they played at Seattle back in 2013.
I think Richard Sherman would love to be on the Patriots right
2014. I'm trying to remember. 2013 it was, yes.
They're tired of picking up Russell
You mad,
Wilson.
bro? I think you're mad. Kiwi Island, I think we can pretty much give them their divisional championship pass.
I agree with you.
By 6. There's definitely no chance, I don't think.
If there's one team in this Div 1 who have it locked down and sees guys up by 6, Les Affreux look like little kittens lately, not like the Lions they came out of the gate as. So I think Kiwi Island have all but wrapped it up at this point.
Okay, if you're a gambling man, which team would you put money on to win it right now?
Yeah, so Kiwi Island's taking their division, if I understand the question correctly, right? Like, who's taking their division?
Well, taking it all the way. So win Div D-1 right now. If you had to put down money, and out of those 4 first place teams, if you had to pick Diablos, KGP RA, Kiwi Island, and Get Off My D, who would you pick?
I think it's going to be Get Off My D in the finals versus Kiwi Island, and I think Kiwi Island's going to get the best of them. I'll put my money on Kiwi Island right now.
I'll put my money on Kiwi Island for now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not KGP RA?
You can't change your bet.
No, for now. But my safe money is on KGP RA.
Oh, his safe money.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Call your bookie, boys.
It's what you call Canadian savings bonds, right?
Yeah, your bonds.
I invested $1,000. I made a little interest off of it, so I'm taking that interest money onto Kiwi Island and the rest on.
So Kiwi Island's like your small cap play, and KGP RA is like your Canadian savings bonds.
Yeah, of course.
He's got his penny stocks and he's got his blue chips, right?
Yeah,
So.
Hey, we're ready to go, brother. All right, let's talk what has happened here. Let's talk about ICU. What has happened to ICU? They've won 3 straight. You mentioned Chris Olsen being the best quarterback of late, second to Dylan Garber, the 10. But when you look at where they were, we thought they were going to go 0 for 10 by their slow start and an awful roster overhaul of who was going to play, who wasn't going to play. But they've come away with some pretty big victories of late, putting themselves back in the playoff positioning, which, by the way, for those who are curious to know, if you go on the FPF site, Eagle, would you like to set me up here with the question? I know you're supposed to set me up.
Oh, this is neat.
Yeah, so, hey, what's new on the website,
Oh, sorry,
Mo?
yes. Look, for those who are curious to know, we're at that point of the season, right, where the playoffs are on the horizon. If you go to your main page of the Division D1 page on the FPF site, if you scroll down, you see the current division standings. On top of that, you will have tabs. Division standings, playoff standings, tiebreak info, and playoff breakdown. So you can look at your playoff standings right now. You can see to my left, Hollowalk's right, of where your team currently is. And for those who are curious to know, the teams in dark green are the first and 2 seeds, and the ones in red are outside looking in.
I think that's important to clarify, Mo, because there's going to be a lot of Mike Roys out there who are going to come in and say, I thought that red was what meant that we're in the playoffs. I thought green meant that you were out of the playoffs. We have to really get granular on this.
You laugh. We had a whole conversation about what colors to use on these, because technically these are colors that aren't compatible with color blindness. So Pease actually looks at this and goes, I don't know what my team color is, which is hilarious in my opinion. But
which is funny because he's made that comment about how he throws the ball as well.
Yes.
And
right.
Why he gets so many interceptions. But, color blindness is no joke.
ICU, they're in the 7th hole right now. They've won 3 in a row. They're back in the thick of the race. They could jump up perhaps even as high as the 3rd seed if things fall their way. What has happened to this team and why have they changed?
So this offense has come alive in the past 3 weeks. I'll throw out a couple of stats for you here. Weeks 1 through 3, Chris Olsen was 10 TDs, 4 INTs with 8 sacks. He had a sub-90 QBR, and he was at about 55% completion. Last 3 weeks, however, 16 TDs to only 2 INTs, only 2 sacks versus the 8 that he took prior. prior, a 120 QBR at least, and close to a 70% completion percentage. So he's definitely elevated his game, and he's brought his receivers with him. Look, guys like Dom Benevento, guys like Eddie Lee, they're just such consistent receivers, so reliable, right? And that's what the system rolls off.
They know the game fairly well to understand their angles and how Chris plays.
And Chris throws a mean no-look pass as well. One of the better ones that I've seen around the league. So he'll roll out, he'll stare down the snapper, and then he'll just like throw to the back of the end zone where the guy's waiting and catch everyone off guard.
He's like an unathletic Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
Sure. But Chris Olsen's quite athletic in his own space there, in his own way, competing in Div D-1, of course.
What has happened to SOB? Losers of the last two, and now I'm not saying they're spiraling, but it's like the water going through a drain, right? When you close the taps and the water slowly goes to the drain, it could end up being like a real spiral that will ram through the pipes quickly here.
Look, the old myth, Icarus flew too close to the sun and got his wings burned, right? Like we heard so much from this team the first couple of weeks when they were winning about all the hoorah and how well they were doing.
How they're proving us wrong.
They're
Damn
proving
straight
us wrong.
Moe and Alex wrong.
Their first 4 games, right? Versus Zoo, versus Global Gym Purple Cobras, versus Bruh-Mitsvah, and versus Les Affres with no Jonathan Levnier. So those are all look, Zoo has no wins. GGP has 2-4 record. Bruh-Mitsvah is 1-5, and Les Affres are 3-3, but they didn't have their quarterback that week.
6-13 record.
Yeah,
total.
exactly. So not the most formidable schedule, right? And then you let it get to your head a little bit, and all of a sudden you lose against not the premier teams of the division, but strong middle tier teams, the Bruisers and the Badgers. And now the next 2 weeks you're going up against KGP and TOPSZN, some of the real tough teams. So before you blink an eye, you could be back to 500 sitting at week 8, and all of that early season hurrah could be thrown out the window.
Well, in defense of them, good news is that they have a bit of a cushion here. They're in the 4 hole right now in the overall playoff rankings, but if they were to lose the next 2, they would, at minimum, be in the 6 hole, in the 6th spot, which isn't too bad here. But they got to split these next 2 games here to maintain at least above 500 and perhaps a chance at TOPSZN for the 3 spot. Because, again, if KGP RA were to beat them, they can kiss the division goodbye, and it will be a dogfight with TOPSZN to be who will be the higher seed within those 2 teams for the divisional playoff race.
Just one thing I want to point out since we're talking about the playoff standings.
Yes.
We don't currently have clinch and eliminated colors. So basically we're ranking you from basically top to bottom, and we're drawing the line where basically teams are eliminated. But we don't specify whether if you're in red, for example, if you still have a chance or not. So just keep that in mind. If you were to fall down into those spots, that doesn't mean you're eliminated, so you have to do the math on that.
Essentially what Eagle's trying to say, if you have 1 win through 9 weeks, you're eliminated from the season. That's what he's trying to say.
Book a ticket to Barcelona. You don't need to be there for the road show.
You laugh. There's teams. The teams that are currently in 10th place can actually make playoffs.
Fair enough, then. What has happened to Khalil Kerr? The last few games, he's above 60% passing. I think my words of motivation. I'm like a life coach for him.
I love this segment. I told you so, Moe.
Yeah, but I'm like his life coach, though. I called him out for being a Mendoza line thrower.
Mendoza line.
You know what the Mendoza line means.
Yeah.
And now he's played much better late because of my coaching ability for his liking.
Mo, a life coach doesn't just give advice. They actually do things for you or make you do things.
Does a life coach tell somebody how poorly they're doing in life?
No,
that's how they motivate them?
That would be a motivational speaker and a terrible one at that.
How about you
and a bully as well?
I want you to look it up right now. Definition of a life coach. That's what I am to Khalil Kerr. Like a big brother to little brother here. You know, like a LeBron to Kevin Durant.
Oh, Lord. LeBron to Kevin Durant.
Carry on, please.
And how'd that work out?
LeBron to Kyrie Irving, maybe. So look at this. So you said a couple weeks ago that they should completely get rid of him.
Yep.
That he wasn't good enough. They should get another quarterback.
Yep.
You know, and what my position at the time was that no, this is your guy. You need to let him develop, give him some time. And look what's happened. He's had a little bit of time. Yeah, one thing. That he proved us both wrong. He's not running anymore. He's running just as much, if not less, than he was before. He's throwing more. However, what he's doing a lot better job of is breaking down the rush and throwing on the move now, which was his natural ability going into the season. That's what you got to do if you're that gifted and you have that much agility. So he's coming into his own. He's coming to his element, and he's getting comfortable. And his team now has built that confidence behind him, and it's starting to snowball. And TOPSZN look like a formidable threat all of a sudden.
You would think so, right? And I think this team will go as far as Khalil Kerr can take them. And if he regresses to what he was 3 weeks ago, and they're not going to go far. But if he plays as he has the last few weeks, it's great for them. They're 4-2. They are in prime playoff position here to cement themselves as maybe a 3, if not a 4 seed, and go from there.
Some big statement games coming down the stretch for them.
They do.
Now they also have a big team though, so I don't think Kluker has to play hero ball in any capacity.
I think he has to play
He can manage the game, and he could set up his team for a chance to win. I think that's the benefit that he has playing of top season this season.
Quickly here, what has happened to the fact we see 6 teams with a 3-3 record? Are they contenders or pretenders right now? Those 6 teams that we have that are 3-3, are we looking at them as being a threat to the upper end, or are they just going to be sacrificial lambs when we arrive in playoff season?
Every season in FPF, we see teams rise from the bottom, not even 500, sometimes below, and make like a playoff run of epic proportions. So look at teams like Frosty Bronson's, exactly what we did last year. We came from 500 to go to the finals. Les Verges Aériennes, who've been scrappy in every game. You have the Badgers, who are coming into their own. You have ICU Fun Boys, 2 of the hotter teams in this division. I mean, look, this is loaded 3-3 roster out of those 6 teams, right? Perhaps the 3-3s, I would argue, are just as good as the teams who are sitting in first place right now.
Well, I think one of those 3-3 teams will upend the higher seeds. I think someone's going to get bounced in the first round by one of these teams here, but it's a matter of who's going to peak. And now we look at the last 4 games of the year, and that carries over into the playoffs, obviously. I think whoever comes in with that momentum, I wouldn't want to face them in the first round of the playoffs, or if not, they go further than that.
It's all about peaking at the right time.
It does, exactly. Let's talk about quickly here the power rankings for this week. We do it every few weeks now. We're through 6 weeks here. Should I go first? Or you want to go first?
You go first, Mo.
Well, we will go from 1 through 5, or should we go 5 through 1?
Ooh, go 5 through 1. Let's make it interesting.
Okay, how about we'll do that. All right, so 5 through 1. Number 5, Supply and Command.
Oh,
3, 2, and 1. They've had some tough, close losses here, but they are under the radar. They're in the 3 hole right now in their conference, with the fact they have a tie. So that kind of puts them in a position where it could benefit them, where they are not going to be in tiebreaker scenarios, but it could put them at a disadvantage if it comes down to maybe a win helping them along the way here. But they're still within range of a top seed spot if they can get into that play. They're my 5 seed right now. My number 4. Top seasons. Number 3. You
don't want to talk about them too much, do you, huh? You don't want to give them a little pat on the back there?
Well, I'll give
my number 4 team.
Well, it's a quick assessment. No, look, they've won their games.
Okay.
They've come through in the clutch now. They're 4-2, an outside chance at the number 1 spot with KGP RA. But right now, they have an opportunity to put themselves and create separation.
Hey, Mo, quick stat check. Who had 4 tackles this week for top seasons? Shane Blackwood.
Okay, you know what? Why don't you get yourself a top season shirt? Why not? Why don't you go support your boys? FYI, just to let you know, Mr. Hollowak, I love my top seasons here. KGP RA cracked them by 7 points. But the point is this.
What a state. Cracked them by 7 points.
Losses have been by 7 points or less this year for top seasons, but they've come up with some clutch wins. As you made the point before in our recap, they came up with a big win over Ghetters, and now for them, with where they're at, this is a great chance to maybe come away with 7 wins. If they go 7-3, I think that's a successful year for the Andel Gordon Thompson-led team. Number 3, Get Off My D. I love this team. Their offense is prolific. Another under-the-radar team. They're going to make some noise in the playoffs, and Jeff Rosenblatt looks healthier and healthier week by week. Number 2, Kiwi Island. Look, I'm not taking that Zoo win with any cause, because Zoo were 5 players and they were 6. So that game I throw out the window. And this thing for Kiwi Island, they're playing well, but I want to see them play some tough teams along the way.
It was 6-on-5 that game?
6-on-5.
And they won, so I guess they took their foot off the pedal a bit.
Exactly. And number 1,
nice of them.
And number 1, you know who I got, and I don't have to mention it because I told those guys on Sunday, you're going to the finals. And it goes by the letters of KGP RA.
Oh, wow. That's a real surprise.
You know
what is surprising? You just told them that they're going to the finals, but you just told me that Kiwi Island's going to the finals.
No, the safe bet's KGP RA. They really jump off the diving board. You go with Kiwi Island. All right, here we go. Yours.
So, sitting at 5, I've got a great team, a team that's about to make a run, a team that went to the finals last year. I've got the Frosty Bronsons sitting at 5th place.
Oh, surprise.
4th, I've got Diablos. Incredible offense, a machine when they get going. Defense has been a little bit less there so far this year, but they just have to make a stop or two, and they could beat anybody in this division offensively.
Yeah.
3, I've got Get Off My D, similar to you. I got them in the 3rd spot. I like this team. Jeff Rosenblatt is one of the premier passers in this division, and he has an incredible surrounding cast. Second, I got KGP RA. You got to give respect where respect's due. They're having a fantastic season. It's a strong team from top to bottom. First, I've got Kiwi Island going to the show. Dan Lazara, perhaps one of the premier two-way players in this division.
Don't say that. He's like, bro, you hear what Alexander had to say about me?
No, he doesn't hear the good things. He only hears the bad things.
Yeah. As he says in a text message, eh? Bro, you talk about, he's still pissed about that, huh?
Yeah.
He's still annoyed about that.
I know. We're good. But that's it. So that's my top 5. A little bit different. We disagree on a couple points.
Our 4 and 5s are different.
But you can see that the premier teams have been established, that the top elite has been carved up, and it's just a question of who's going to, fill out that back end now towards the end of the season.
Our top 3 is more or less the same, minus Get Off Medi, who we have at number 3.
Would you guys slot the other opposing person slot in number 6 or something? Or?
No, we don't do number 6. We do top 5. We don't want to give the benefit of teams to believe, hey, we're in the top 6. No one does a top 6.
So where's Frosty Bronson for you?
Nothing, nowhere near what he has that listed. More like number 11. If they're lucky.
We'll take it. We love to.
All right, quickly here. One game to watch this week in your mind is who?
One game to watch this week.
Yes.
You've got SOB versus KGP RA.
Agreed.
We hyped them up a few weeks ago as the go-to game in the first at this point of the season. Not as impressive anymore. Not as much of a premier matchup as SOB has slipped the last 2 weeks, but interesting for different reasons. Let's see if SOB have the gall to rise up to the challenge here and break out of their 2-game slump.
I agree. I think this is not a make or break, but this is definitely a season-defining moment for SOB to show to the FPF world that yes, we are going to be a threat for the playoff race.
Yeah.
Because if they lose this game, as I said before, they can kiss first place goodbye, and they'll be in a dogfight for a wild card spot at that point moving forward. So they have to win this game. There's no ifs or buts about that.
Agreed.
Let's talk about Division D2. We're going to go to break here, Eagle. Are we going to break? Oh, finally we go to break because Eagle telling me the last weeks, Mo, what are you doing? You got to go through the thing.
We were running late.
Where's the beers? I heard Marco was drinking Rolling Rocks here yesterday.
We still have Rolling Rocks. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Do we?
Hook a guy up, please.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk about the power rankings for Division D2. We'll talk what we saw this week, and we'll get into some other keynotes in terms of the race for first place and what has happened to certain players in this Division D2 battle. Stay tuned. Those chicken wings tasted good, man. All these sauce.
If only I had a beer with those chicken wings. If only I had chicken wings with this beer.
If only you had chicken wings, from Buffalo Wild Wings,
Thanks again, Mo, for devouring them.
You can see, you can look at my skin particles, the barbecue sauce. I think
here's my issue with the whole thing, right? We spoke about it before. Not that Mo didn't give us any, it's that he didn't even ask us if we wanted some.
Okay, first of all.
So Mo, I just had to tell you and jump in. Alex and I were both in solid relationships. You learn this kind of stuff in your relationships. You need to ask your partner if they want some too before you go.
Listen,
even if you know they're gonna say no, you still ask, because if you don't ask, you're gonna go, maybe I wanted some.
I'm gonna mic drop you guys right now. There's no I in team, but there's I in win, and I win by having chicken wings on behalf of you guys.
There's I in wings too.
There is an I in wings.
Anyway, welcome back to Division D2. We're gonna recap the week that was for Alex and I, the race for first. We'll talk about if every division is up for grabs or who knows what will happen. Speaking of what has happened, we'll talk about some players of what they've done of late and the power rankings, and we'll get to our games of the week as well. Let's go through the week that was. Mr. Hollowak, what did you see that caught your attention?
I have a Wild West, crazy Western-style shootout between Big Fun Party Mix 8 and War Pigs ended in a 41-41 draw. This was just an insane back-and-forth game between two teams with gunslinging quarterbacks on this week, at least. Look, went down to the wire. Last drive of the game, Big Fun Party Mix hit Ricky Tolino. He makes a beautiful toe drag swag catch down the sideline.
Swag catch. What does swag catch mean? Like he was like, yeah,
toe drag swag. Like he had some toe drag swag on that catch. He tiptoed. He stayed in bounds. He came up with a huge play. Down by 2, they go for 2. They hit Michael Borghese in the front of the end zone. And they tie up the game. And you know what? It's amazing. Look, we have Evan Eli Nole, who has 265, 6 TDs to 0 INTs, 21 of 25.
That's crazy.
That's an insane.
That's crazy.
That's an insane game. Mo was making fun of him a couple weeks ago, saying that he's all over the place. But
255, 6, and 80%. That's
and he only
awesome.
missed 4 passes.
Yeah,
this is like a Fred Vien's performance from Division B. And then on the opposite side, Corey Woleski didn't let off at all. 19 of 27, 239, 6 TDs to 0 INTs as well. This is oftentimes in this game, War Pigs were put into like deep 3rd down, deep 4th down situations, but they always came up with the key play. They always came up with the key catch. Whether it was Nicholas Emmanuel Pierre, 59 yards of TD, David Beltrami, 55 yards of TD, it was just an even distribution. The veteran Mark Bellome had an impact on this game. 5 catches, 20 yards, 2 TDs. This was just like, this is a game for me, anyways, that makes Division D2 recognizable and it makes it entertaining and fun to watch. And I wish there was a lot more of these types of games.
Perhaps there will be more of those type of games. Who knows? The game that I saw was an easy win for Norfolk and Chance over E.T.C. They went 32-6 over E.T.C. Rocco Cristiano, who we talked about a while ago, 14-22 for 5 TDs, 135. The immortal Juwan Etchell sends me a message Sunday morning.
Wow.
Saying, yo, I'm back. We're going to win all these games. Look out. I go, yo, dude, look at your schedule and come talk to me afterwards. Your team is not that great. You will not win this game. He's like, yo, you don't understand, man. I go, you don't understand. Yeah. You're not going to win.
Clearly, he didn't understand.
And you know what his numbers were?
Yeah.
5 of 14 for 69 yards and an impressive 3 INTs.
Oh, my gosh. And is this his first ever game at quarterback?
Quarterback for this level. He was, I believe, and Eagle, maybe you can get the information on this. Edgel, I believe, was a quarterback in FPF Junior when he was running circles on these 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. But I was impressed by Norfolk and Chance. These guys are good. Chris Williams played very well.
He was a quarterback. He went 34 for 58, 473 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, quarterback rating of 95.8.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
in 5 games.
This is not junior, please.
Against 12-year-olds.
Yeah, Akeem Hoyt-Charles, 3 touchdown grabs, 5 catches for him. This was an all-out domination for this NIC team. They came out and played lights-out football. I felt like that win over the Pandas has propelled them into this mindset that they can be competitive and win these games. And now it puts them in position to maybe get in the playoff race of maybe clinching the playoff spot. And I think for E.T.C, this pretty much cements any chance that they thought they had, a glimmer of hope that they could go in the playoff race with this loss. Now, I think for John Edgell, he will even agree that this was a team that was overmatched, undermanned with the idea of how to play a proper concept defense. And if this team comes back next winter, they got to come back with a structure in place if they want to be competitive, whether they play Division 5B or Division 6 next winter season.
Best way to do that is go out, recruit 1 or 2 guys who have experience in this league. They'll show you how it's done. Always, go with the master, and then you'll learn how to be a good disciple. So take that approach, and I think it'll turn around quick for them. You know what? Norfolk and Chance, Rocco Cristiano, since he's arrived, they've been playing with a lot more swagger and a lot more belief in themselves, and it shows in their play. I mean, he's their guy, and they've been turning it around.
Another game that I saw was, once again, the same script. Warriors up in All Hooks 32-26. Now, I'll give Warriors hell for this because Hallowak, they were up 18 points with 6 plays left.
Not again.
They were up 18 points with 6 plays left. Look at the final score.
They were up 18 points with 6
plays left.
So what happened?
They end up winning by 6 because these guys take the foot off the pedal. They don't close out games when they're supposed to.
There was 6 plays left, and they let them score twice.
They gave up. They scored, right?
Okay.
There's no INTs on Michael Soleimani's.
Well, that's it, right? They scored. Okay, so they're down 12 with 5 plays to go. Next play, safety. So
wow.
and they get back, and obviously the game's out of hand. But the fact that they gave up 14 points in a span of 4 plays or 3 plays, you're not going to win football games at this level. And
that's
this
the tough games,
awful.
anyways. Yeah.
And the worst part is that All Hooks did not even have their starting quarterback going for them, and they still made it a competitive game.
Yeah, that's a problem though in this one. You got to say Warriors are 5-1. They've been pulling out key wins the last couple of weeks. However, there's been some major blemishes, as we discussed last week,
100%.
right? There was a decision to make that errant throw late in the game.
Yeah, when it was 2nd and 1.
And this week, obviously, to not be able to protect the lead and not play against CO Living. This is not the real All Hooks. This is not the look that they're going to give you if you face them again in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And Nicholas Blake, you know what? He was formidable, but they have a stud that wasn't there this week, and it's going to be a different start if they play again.
And I'll give Warriors one credit, though. Their red zone defense probably the best in Division D2. It's hard to score on this team. It's like they morph into like these super mutant giants, and you can't score on them. You're inside the 7, you're not going to score on them. Like I think the probability is like a 20 out of 80 scenario that you're going to score on them for a touchdown.
Well, Michael Soleimani had a nice game this week, 15 of 20, 193, 5-0. So
for sure, but they
keep playing that way, they'll be tough.
If we fast forward this game in the playoffs, and they blew this lead, this would probably be the ultimate collapse of collapses in FPF history. Just food for thought.
That's a big statement, too.
Any other games that caught your attention?
Nope, that's about it for this week. But we'll dive into our next segment.
Yes.
If you want to introduce it right now.
Yes, before we get to that, though, Eagle, please set me up for the big news that we have on the website.
Hey, Mo, do you have the playoff standings ready?
That's a great question, Eagle. That I do. If you guys go on the Division D2 main page, you guys can check out your playoff standings going into the last 4 weeks of the year. On the main page, if you scroll down, you'll see the current division standings just above it. You will have tabs for division standings, playoff standings, tiebreaker info, and playoff breakdown. And you guys can look through it top to bottom where your team is in the race for the playoffs, which is now less than 5 weeks away. So you guys go on the main page. The tabs are just above the division rankings, and you can check it out. We'll also have it in French. So for those who are Francophone teams, we'll have it in French very soon.
How does it work in terms of colors, Mo?
Oh, yes, the colors. That's correct. The colors, for those who are not colorblind, the top 2 seeds, the 1 and 2 spots will be in a nice cream green. And then the teams who are in the wildcard spots will be in a cucumber green color. And then for those who are on the outside looking in, that means non-playoff teams will be in red.
So it's basically a Christmas tree.
That's correct.
And if they want to have info in terms of how the tiebreak works or exactly what the playoff breakdown is, there's additional tabs for that where you can read through how that works. Quickly, for tiebreak, it goes points, wins, head-to-head if it's a two-way tie. Then it goes a divisional record, and then lastly, points against.
All right, then here we go. Division champions. With 4 games to go, or do you believe all 4 divisions are all but done in terms of the fact that right now with one division, the race first, my apologies. With one division all but done, Le Montagnard holding their lead, and it looks like they will be the division champions. But even with their loss to the Warriors, do you think the All Hooks have a chance to maybe jump them and perhaps have a chance at first place?
So they're only up by a game in terms of points, but they're up in 2 games because of the tiebreaker, yes. Right? So in order to for that to occur, the Warriors are going to need to drop the 2 of their last 4 games, and the All Hooks are going to have to win out, essentially, win all 4. Now, here's the interesting part. The next 2 games for the Warriors are against the War Pigs and Lobster Dinner. So, and then they play against E.T.C and Red Sharks, which are all but assured victories for them at this point. So War Pigs and Lobster Dinner, there is a backwards possibility, and especially given the way this team has performed as of late, they haven't been able to close out tight games, that they may drop a game in here or possibly 2, which leaves the door open for the All Hooks, who play against Black Knights, Pandas, Mountaineers, that's the key one, and then Vikings. So 3 of those 4 games are very winnable, and the big one's going to be the Mountaineers.
I'll give them the 3, and then that 4th one, I agree. If they can beat Le Montagnard, it puts them back in the position, but again, it's dependent on the Warriors to lose a game or two along the way here. You're right.
The Warriors control their own destiny.
Yes, they control their own destiny, but you're right. The Warriors will have to lose at least 2 games for them to have a chance at all.
And unless barring a shocking upset, it'll have to be the next 2. So if they can win one of those 2, they should feel pretty good about themselves.
Okay, so Trinity, even with their loss to Trinity, could Lobster Dinner jump them for the title? Again, this is a team that, again, has sort of been covert in how they've done this year. They've had some impressive wins, some close wins themselves. But you look at the schedule, Vikings, they play the Warriors in 2 weeks, which is a big one. Yep. Still preaching in Black Knights. Again, they can win 3 out of 4. That 4th game against the Warriors could be the determining factor in whether or not they could have a chance at first place.
Same scenario as we just discussed, right? The Trinity has to lose 2 of those games. And if we're looking at Trinity's schedule, they have Red Sharks, Mountaineers, Vikings, and E.T.C. So you're looking at Mountaineers and Vikings as the 2 games that might give Trinity a little bit of trouble. And then Lobster Dinner have to win all 4. So they have to win out. And that Warriors game, that second week game going ahead is the one that's highlighted here. So we'll see. There's an offhand chance that Lobster Dinner overtake them, but also Trinity, they hold the hammer right now, and it's going to be up to them to once again control their own destiny.
I agree. I just think that right now for Lobster Dinner, I think there'll be a solid wild card team. Yeah. I think the division might be out of their reach with Trinity doing what they've done so far. And we'll get to Trinity shortly now with the question of the week here.
Another good thing to point out is that when you're managing your team down the stretch, especially anticipating playoffs, you don't want to give everything in the stretch run. You want to save some. So they could go out of their way. They could bust their ass for the next 4 weeks to try to win all those 4 games, and they might just be drained come playoff time. So let it go. If I was them, I'd let it go, and I would prepare myself for the playoff matchup.
All right, looking at Ravens and Big Fun Party Mix, do you believe those 2 ties that Big Fun Party Mix have will hurt them in the race for first place? Because remember, they will play the Ravens week 10 in a showdown, but I think those 2 ties will kind of derail their chance, because we look at tiebreaker scenarios, and as great as they are as 3-1 and 2, that might hurt them in the end.
But here's the thing, Mo. They haven't played each other yet. They have that massive showdown week 10. So this is not a 2-game scenario like the other divisions we just discussed were. The Ravens have to win week 10 versus... No, Big Fun Party Mix has to win week 10 versus the Ravens. And then all they need is the Ravens to slip up once more in the remaining 3 games ahead. And the Big Fun Party Mix wins out, and they will usurp them for first place. So yes, there's a little bit of asterisks next to that. There's a couple of also has to happen, but they have a better shot than the other 2 teams. I believe this is going to be the most interesting stretch run to follow.
I can't wait, because the Ravens will play the Roadrunners this Sunday in Lachine, which will be on my field, and I think that will be the game that the Fun Party Mix will look at as being perhaps their saving grace of them getting back into that race for first place.
And look, this week they had no Machuul. They dropped their first game of the season, and they struggle a little bit without their big body over the middle there. So I don't know if the Gronk is going to be here every game the rest of the way, but should he miss a game? They've shown some vulnerabilities right now.
Okay, if you had to put money on any of these teams right now for the second place teams, I'm talking about All Hugs, Lobster Dinner, or Big Fun Party Mix to perhaps win their division, who would it be?
I'm going to say Big Fun Party Mix. That's my clearest path to first place out of the second place teams right now.
I'm going to say not them. I'm going to go with Lobster Dinner. I really think John Brown, what he's assembled, it's a good team. It's a good sound team. No one's giving them credit here. They may be a team of a faceless superstar, but they play well as a unit. And I think if Trinity does falter along the way, they could give them a good run for their money, even though they lost them earlier this season.
And I think Warriors are another interesting one. Obviously, we're saying all 3 of them now, but Warriors, once they get Seal Loving back, this is a completely different team than not the Warriors.
And they will this week.
All Hooks. Once they get All Hooks, Seal Loving back, it's a completely different All Hooks than we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, what has happened to J.F. Marquis? 6 INTs the last 3 games. It was awful again for him in a win over Buffalo Wild Wings. It feels like he's that street quarterback. He has his moments, but he has looked bad at the worst times possible. And 6 INTs the last 3 games. That Alex cannot carry over in the last 4 games going to the playoffs.
Look, no skin off his back. He's always been a very high INT quarterback. That's why he didn't win QB of the year in this past winter season Division 5. He had too many INTs, although he led the league in touchdowns. He's playing with an elite defense. What's more concerning to me now than the INTs has been low yardage totals and the completion percentage over the last 3 weeks. Defenses seem to be finding out the book on him.
Pass rushers, I think.
Pass rushers.
I think it's pass rusher that's been key in why he's not been as good as he was the first 3 weeks compared to the last 3 weeks of the season. And I think for him, him. He's got to figure out maybe it's a quicker offense. I've seen some long developing plays. He loves the deep ball.
Yeah.
I think teams have snuffed that out where they know he's going to go deep. Let's keep our safety high and then try and go short on us.
Every QB developing in this league has to go through a transition where he changes from loving the deep ball to becoming a more well-rounded, established quarterback, unless you can build such amazing teams every year that allows you to just throw the ball up deep, STL Division B, for example. Otherwise, you have to learn how to take the checkdowns, and you have to learn how to be disciplined, and I think that he's going to encounter that soon. It might not be this year, but it's definitely going to be in the next couple of seasons.
We spoke about them before. What has happened to NIC? Winners of 3 out of the last 4 games right now, Alex. And if you look at the playoff standings as we speak with where they're at, NIC, a team that we thought would be a joke of an organization this year, right now in the 5-hole, they will be in a 4-5 matchup with the Roadrunners, and they still have a chance at maybe the 3 spot. Why the difference for this team now?
Well, they you know what? Rocco Cristiano has turned it around. Not in terms of stats necessarily, but keeping his team in play and not giving the crucial turnover. He has 0 INTs in the last 2 games. He's showing progression. He's not a world beater yet at the quarterback position, but this team is just very well rounded. And all they needed was a sliver of a hope, a chance to keep them in games. You have guys like Akeem Hochschild, you have guys like Chris Williams, you have guys like Chris Millard. All they needed was a quarterback to manage the game effectively. And that's what Rocco's becoming over the last couple of weeks. And he's putting this elite athletic roster in a position to win games. And that's what they're doing. It's not huge blowouts, but it's getting them wins.
All right, let's jump ahead to the power rankings for this week, our top 5 for this week. Do you want to go first or shall I go first?
You go first, Mo.
All right, here we go. Power rankings for this week. We do it every few weeks, but here we go. Number 5, All Hooks. Without their quarterback, they've been very competitive. They have a great record, and now with Seal Levine back in the fold, this might be their run. This might be their takeoff where they might knock off some teams and end up with 7 wins or more. Number 4, Lobster Dinner. Don't have to say much. We spoke about them last segment. I think they're under the radar and maybe the dark horse team that no one wants to face. Number 3, Warriors. As frustrated as I am with you, you guys have a great defense. Close out games. Otherwise, you would have been higher on this list. Number 2, Ravens, a team on steroids. No, not literally, but with the roster of who they have. Yeah. Even though they had their first loss, they're in control of their division. I love how this team is built. If Matthew Will comes back, which I believe it will be this week, it makes a big difference for their offense. He's the Gronk of the offense. Number 1, a team that you don't like, that I love.
What are you talking about,
Le Montagnards, the Mountaineers. They look like a well-oiled machine. They are just cruising along here. But I wonder if they will trip up at some point, which I think they will. Don't know which game it will be, but they're my number 1 team for this week for the power rankings.
That's a very fair ranking assessment. I agree with you for the most part. I'm going to go backwards because I think I have a lot of agreement at the front. Yeah, 1 through 5.
Yes.
I have the Mountaineers at first. Yeah. Indeed. My stickers all over that bandwagon. I was on there first before you ever decided to jump ship.
Right.
Secondly, I have the Ravens as well. I think this was an anomaly this week without Matt Shahul in the lineup. Third, I'm going to give it to the Warriors. Like you said, very aggressive defense. They've been winning games, and that's what matters most. Fourth, I'm going to put Trinity in there. Yes, Jeff Marquis is throwing a bunch of INTs, like he's giving them out in baskets like it was apple season or something, but he's still a very good quarterback.
Santa Claus right now, bro.
He's Santa Claus. But he's still a productive quarterback. He still gets the touchdowns, and his defense is still super elite. And fifth, I'm going to bump out All Hooks, and I'm going to replace them with the Lobster Dinners, which you had ranked at fourth.
Yes.
I think this team, you have to give them respect. They're solid group of savvy veterans led by John Brown. Not the flashiest team, but nonetheless, they stay and they hang in tight with the big dogs.
I just think for Trinity's sake, I like the guys, but again, they've been unimpressive for me of late, and this is not the time to really stumble your way through because you have a chance to cement yourself as a high-end seed. But again, the biggest knock on them will be the first playoff game of their run. Can they overcome that hump and perhaps prolong their stay? We'll find out in 5 weeks' time. One game that you will be watching that's on the radar that will have a big impact on the Div D-2 standings.
You know what? I have to see this to believe it. I want to see the Montagnards versus Norfolk in chance. I want to see this is Norfolk in chance. This is their time time to shine, the time in the spotlight this week, Sunday at 10 o'clock at Lachine. They've been coming on strong the last couple of weeks. We just gave them kudos, but now you're playing against the big team of the division. Now you're playing against the number one ranked opponent, and let's see if you can actually make some noise, make some of us true believers here with this matchup.
The game looking at Smoking That Lala against Still Preaching. Two teams right now, when you look at the overall playoff standings with where they're at, Halawak, Still Preaching and Smoking That Lala. Lala 7th right now. They are one up on Goofy Goobers for the last playoff spot. And for Still Preaching, I know they had a big win against Trinity not too long ago. They too are on the 7th hole. They have a bit of a cushion right now. They're 3 points up on the last playoff spot. This is a big game because if Still Preaching wins, they can put themselves in position of maybe even being a 3 or 4 seed. And for Lala, it will put a little bit of a space between them and the last playoff spot to perhaps cement themselves.
I like this game as well, Mo, and I think the reason for me that I'm so intrigued by this one is that you have two teams developing their identity still.
Yeah.
And you have, for example, Pat Lindor, quarterback for Still Preaching. We don't know how that's happening, but it's been working for them somehow. It's been better than the options before, and he's developing as the weeks go by. And on the other side, you have Smoking on That Lala with the young Avery Lala, who missed a game, replaced by Tony. So he's developing as well. So you have both these teams that are coming into their own, and they're going to have to figure it out down the stretch if they want to be, solid playoff contenders.
I think Brent Calendar looks like Webster.
I know who Brent Calendar looks like.
He looks like Webster,
I'll bring it up for you by the end of the show. Alex, I'll give it to you.
It is now time for
Games of the Week.
All right, we should have Chapman doing that, but that's okay.
Well, screw you, Mo.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Okay, Alex, sorry, when you get a chance. Chef Roger Mooking from...
We're not doing this.
Please.
Next week.
Chapman would do it.
Put it up.
Yeah, but
Mo.
Chapman
put up Kelly Greg for us last time. We had...
Chef Roger Mooking.
Oh, he does look like him, yeah.
From the Food Network. You got to get him up there.
All right. We got KGP RA versus SOB. 6.5 point favorites to KGP.
You know what I got?
You got your boys. You got KGP. Giving no love to SOB. But look, the tide has turned. I have to take KGP on this one as well.
Surprise.
I'm just going to be very quiet.
Game number 2, Bruisers versus the Global Gym Purple Cobras. Cobras are favorited by 4.5 points.
Please, I'm gonna take the Bruisers. They've been storming back the last couple of weeks. Purple Gym Global Cobras, or however they call themselves. This is a team lacking identity. Eric Marino, quarterback of the year, has 90 QBR, 88 QBR. He's dropped off significantly since the winter season. Give me the Bruisers to continue their run here.
I'm wearing purple.
Ooh.
All right, in our next game, we have the Diablos versus New Zealand, also known as Kiwi Island. Kiwi Island is preferred by 10.5 points.
They're winning by 20.
You got Kiwi?
Yeah, by 20.
You got Kiwi?
By 20.
But you don't even like Kiwi.
I like Kiwi the fruit. Don't like Kiwi from RDP. I got them by 20.
I'm taking Diablo off the points. I love Kiwi, but this is too big of a spread for a strong Diablos team.
All right, then we have the D-2. Runners and Raven, 3.5 points to the Ravens.
Ravens. A close one.
Give me the Ravens to clear the 3.5. That's a good spread.
Vikings Lobster Dinner, 5.5 points Lobster.
I love the Vikings defense, but I just think the Lobster Dinner are going to be systematically breaking down that defense.
I'm going to make a tough call here. I'm going to say Lobster Dinner will win, but Vikings will cover the spread.
All right.
So they're going to win by less than 5.5.
Do you think Vikings had lobster dinners?
In the Scandinavian area?
They didn't eat lobster.
When they came to the Atlantic.
That was way too frilly for them.
They moved to the Great Lakes, man.
Yeah, but along the way, you pass by Lobster Central.
Oh, yeah. Let's stop off in Newfoundland and Corner Brook and go have some lobsters.
Well, I think they got to the Great Lakes.
Didn't the Vikings land in Newfoundland?
By the way, those Buffalo Wild Wings are fantastic, by the way. Those Buffalo Wild Wings, very good. All right, next game.
And then in the last game, we have Smoking on That Lala versus Still Preaching. 4.5 points favorites to La La La.
I got La 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 Land.
Give me Preaching. Let's go, Pat Lindor.
Let's go, La La Land. All right, what did you learn in today's episode?
As always, I've actually learned I know less now than I did at the beginning of the show. Brain cells have died, they have atrophied, and it's all because of you, Mo.
Excellent.
What
did you learn today, Eagle?
I learned that you are very selfish and that the wings were delicious and that I will never be able to eat Plattsburgh Buffalo Wild Wings again until they bring us another batch next week. Please and thank you.
You did not get Roger Mooking on the screen. You're a bad producer.
I learned that those wings were fantastic. Good night, Mark Alfoltz.